Hello everyone, welcome to Bible Story Tutorial, and today we'll be talking about a very interesting character of the Bible. And guess who? We're talking about Daniel. Yes, and we're going to be learning about Daniel's character traits. So the book of Daniel was written during the time when the Jews were going through a lot. They were under a rulership of a pagan king. So Daniel was also a captive, he and his brothers. Yeah. So I found something really interesting. Nebuchadnezzar means Nebo will protect the king or the crown. And Nebo is the Babylonian god. How will you be bearing such name? But over here, we listen and we don't judge. And the pronunciation is Nebuchadnezzar, not Nebuchadnezzar. He's not an evil man. But that sounds evil. Nebuchadnezzar. Thank you. Moving forward. King Nebuchadnezzar under this Enoch to select youths from the noble and the most prestigious families. And the king had the specifications. He had a spec. For this king, the king wanted them handsome, young without a defect, like no blemish. He wants them perfect, well versed in every branch of wisdom. They were to be intelligent, discerning, and qualified for royal service. The king had specifications, and the eunuch did exactly what the king asked him to do, and he brought 4 men to him: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The people we all know as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those names given to them were Babylonian names, but their Jewish name is Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Let me thank you. So from my research, I found out that the practice of changing the names of captives to reflect local deities was a way for rulers to exert control over the conquered people. So most times when they capture people, when they capture their captives, they change their names. It's a way of them exerting dominion over them, and that's why they changed the name of Daniel and his brothers. Moving forward, Daniel and his brothers were brought forward to the king, and the king ordered that they be tutored for 3 years. He told his eunuch to give them the finest of meals, and they should be well educated, teaching them the culture, the values, literature, everything concerning the Babylonian culture, and for 3 years. But let me digress a bit. The king, they were intelligent too, yes, but the king still wanted a particular posture for them. He wanted them to go to school. So they needed a kind of education for them to be able to work in the king's palace. Now it's a digression. If the king knows that for them to actually be in his palace, they have to be in a particular kind of way. They have to be exceptional. Why do you think you want to appear before royalty anyhow? And that's why we encourage education, we encourage learning. You shouldn't stop you studying. We give you an edge over so many people that are just there. It's okay to have the qualification, which is your B.S.C and all of that, but don't stop there. Go further, take courses, do things related to your field of study. If not, you can do other related courses too as well, just so that you come out exceptional, because we are all made for the top. So you have to prepare for the top. Let's go back to our story. Alright, the king told them yes, that they should be served meal from the palace, but Daniel and his brother determined in their hearts not to defile themselves with the king's meat. Don't worry, I'm going to read that for us in the scripture. We're looking at Daniel 1 verse 8, and it said, but Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank, Therefore, he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Daniel decided he was not going to do that, even though they were really enticing. Yeah, imagine eating food from the palace. The food is exceptional. It's not play food. It's not our normal rice and beans. Those chefs were good. I know to be food, but from I could tell. But Daniel proposed in his heart not to defile himself with the portion of the king's meat. From my research, I found out that all Babylonian food were considered ritually unclean. Daniel rejected the food of the king. He was also, and as he was rejecting the food, he was also rejecting their system. At that point, I could tell that he pledged his allegiance to God only. Daniel did what was right over what was popular. Moving forward, after rejecting the king's meal, he ordered that the eunuch provide them with course, that's vegetable and water. Courses are a good source of protein. These are seed meal like pea. I'm sure we all know green pea, beans, and lentil. These are great source of protein, vitamin, and mineral. And I told the eunuch that he's fine with these things, and the eunuch was like, "My guy, I beg. The king is gonna put my head on the platter if you guys come out malnourished." And Daniel tried to convince him that, "See, we'll be fine. Just give us this." The man refused, and they placed the bet, and we're like, "Okay, see, give us 10 days. Just feed us with these things we've required of you. And if after the 10 days we come out different, we come out worse, then you can continue with the king's meal." And the eunuch was like, "Okay, fine." And he gave them vegetable and water for the next 10 days. And guess what? They came out fatter, healthier, and fairer. And that was what we considered Daniel fast. You could try it. It's healthy, really healthy. The eunuch was like, "Wow, this will look different. Alright, let them have it. So during the 3 years of their learning, grooming, and all of that, they were just having vegetables and water. And in turn, during the 3 years of this grooming, they came out exceptional. So we're going to go back to the Bible and read this particular verse. We're looking at Daniel chapter 1 verse 17, and it says, "And for these 4 children God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams." He told these people were exceptional. They were blessed in all skill, like they were skillful in all learning. They were blessed with wisdom. Whoa. And after the 3 years elapsed, they brought them forward again to the king, because now they were ready to serve. And the king communed with them. You know, saying that when you follow person talk, you know the kind of thing where they the person head. And that's the truth. The Bible said, "Study to show yourself approved." You cannot just be a fine person, a fine man or a fine woman, and you don't have anything upstairs. It is wrong. It's an error. You should at least be knowledgeable. It's very important. Very, very important. And these men understood it. And the king found no one like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Like, there were no one like this men. We're going to go back to the Bible and read this particular verse. Let's look at Daniel chapter 1 verse 18 to 20. "Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuch brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding, the king inquired of them. He found them 10 times better than all the magicians, astrologers that were in all his realm." And Daniel continued even unto the first year of King Cyrus. This was how he gave them provinces. If you want to rule your word, if you want to be exceptional in your field, go and read, take courses, learn, get a skill. Just make sure that you are improving, you are evolving. Make sure that you're not the same person you were last year. Make sure that every year you're evolving. And thank God for the women in my circle. Everyone is doing something. Everyone has a skill or is doing a course or is doing something to evolve in their area of study. And so that's how it should be. From my research, Daniel was a man of study. In fact, moving forward, we'll talk about how he went and opened a scroll that was, I think that was either Isaiah or Jeremiah's prophecy of what was going to happen in Jerusalem. He read it and was disturbed. Even people in heaven, even angels shocked. They were like, this man, they had to go and meet him and be like, see you, this thing is going to happen either ways. But we saw that you were bothered. So they came and explained it to him. Daniel was a man of books. He was a man of letters. He read. There's this saying that say the day you stop learning, that day you die. Information is power. What I learned from the chapter 1 of Daniel, because we'll be looking at Daniel intensively for a period of time before we switch into another character. First, what I learned is Daniel already decided in his heart before he faced the king. And from my research, I found that Daniel and his brothers were between the age of 15 to 18 years old when they were captured and brought to King Nebuchadnezzar. So imagine at that very young age, he already had a firm decision. He already made firm decisions. Daniel already decided that he was not going to do anything otherwise, different from what he was trained to do before he even came in contact with the king. We can apply that to our day-to-day life. We can apply that structure to our struggles and our temptations. There are these things we've decided that, oh, we're not going to do. You can decide that in your heart before even facing these temptations. It helps us overcome them. Yeah. And secondly, what I learned from this particular chapter is that Daniel refused the king's food not out of rebellion, but out of devotion to God. He would have actually collected it, but it was no harm. Frankly, it's not a sin, no. If he had eaten the food, he would still be Daniel, but it's not a sin. But then it's an act of honor, it's an act of devotion to God, and he got the reward for that. I mean, he was exceptional. In accordance to what I just said, we'll be looking at the book of Romans chapter 12 verses 2, and it says, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Daniel was not conformed to the Babylonian culture. He wasn't conformed to the extravagant, luxurious things he was seeing. He maintained that posture that came with. He had a training and he allowed it rule his life. Some of us, we have a particular way we're being trained. We have a particular way we're being nurtured, and we go into a different place and we act differently just because we want to behave like. You know that saying, when you're in Rome, behave like the Romans, has affected many people, a lot of persons. And you see them, they'll just throw away their values, throw away their culture because of they went to Rome and they should behave like Romans. Daniel did not behave like the Babylonians. He came down, he was different, and it was showing, his light was shining. It was different. It was obvious that this man is not of this place. This man is different. And that's how it should be. That's the way we should position our lives. So another thing I got again from this particular story is the act of consecration. Consecration is setting yourself apart for God, for devotion's sake. Sometimes when you see where God is taking you to, or when you know where you're headed, there are certain things you should and should not do. Not because they are sinful, but because it might affect your walk with God. So you just allow them be. Now, this food that they offered to Daniel, it's not like they were bad. I mean, there were some of his brothers too that ate it. But he knows who he is. He knows himself. He knows. So, he knows that the only way for him to still maintain that posture he came in with is by him living a consecrated life. He had to exempt these things just because of where God is taking him. And God did a lot with Daniel in the book of Daniel. And I'm so glad that we're going to be going down this road together to see the amazing things God used Daniel to do. So the act of consecration is a must for every Christian, every believer that have a walk with God. when you have a walk with God, consecration is something you must do, basically. It makes your walk with God effective. Yeah. So I'm sure God is laying some things in your heart for you to share with us. If you want, you can refresh by going back to the book of Daniel chapter 1 and read through, so you can actually talk to us about what the Holy Spirit is doing in your heart. The comment section is open, and I'll be going to the comment section to see the amazing things you'll be commenting as regards this particular story. I really cannot wait to see your comments and your reactions too. I really cannot wait for the next episode so we can learn more about Daniel's character traits and how we can apply them to our lives. Stay tuned and see you guys in the next episode. Do well to follow, share, like this video and comment. Very important. I really want to read your comments. Bye. I still remain Victoria Ep3 of Bible Stories with Victoria.